Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert, one of you for 2 hours 2B's Gundam Reviews.net, and it's Sunday night, and believe it or not, Char actually has something to do with episode 32 of Gundam Age. Kyo's generation is moving on in the fortress here as they keep the battle on the ground. So anyway, let's get right to the of the week's character, MS and Scene. It seems like ever since the third generation started that there hasn't really been that many characters just grabbing the bull by the horns and sort of taking over an episode. Shana Lua did a pretty good job last week, but in this case, for my runner-up, I'm going to say Phantom 3's Daemon, who had a pretty good turn in the mobile suit, but even better was handing out a Craig Ferguson bag of money. The only thing it was missing was a pound sign on the side. Because he's in Scotland. But I suppose it would have to go to Shana Lua again, where we found out last week she got a big play there as Senpai, taking care of Kyo, telling him to write his mother this week, and in the end it turns out that she is going to be the traitor, and she didn't do it for, well, she did it for deep reasons, but it's very cliched. She needed money to take care of her sister, and because of that she sold out for Craig Ferguson's bag of money. In the end though, as she made the sacrifice, even though she betrayed them and she wanted to keep her sister alive, when Kyo was in danger from Daemon, she was able to step in, and her clan was able to get that double deal where they both tied in the end, and yet they both lost. And it's sort of too bad that she's out of the show, because I figured if they had gone the Zeta route, then we could have had that female traitor on the other side coming back to continuously harass. But in this case, it's Kyo's first taste of death, and probably something that's going to at least harden him up for the next 20 episodes or so. Outside of the character department, this episode was fantastic in the mobile suit department with a full-on assault on the Earth base, which we've seen before in Gundam, and it's cool to see, no matter where it is, because everybody's bringing out all of their military hardware. And I'm talking, in this case, we got to see the Vegans throw out some big giant MAs, and we got to see a whole bunch of new stuff, including the Gomels, which had a pretty good impression on me last week, and of course being pirated by Daemon and taking place in that climatic battle certainly helped their cause. And there's even better news, because when you look at it really carefully... But I'll hold that thought for a moment, because my second favorite mobile suit of the week had to be the Adels. If you've watched a lot of my videos, you'll probably know that the 08th MS team is one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite series. And seeing the Adels in green military colors with cool looking shoulders on, not to mention the other rocket launcher packs and everything they had, the Adels, certainly if they were released in green, or if you wanted to paint them up, and if you're good at modifying, of course, you can just fix up those shoulders on their own, but they sure made a good impression. But ultimately, this episode was stolen for me by a single thing. Zehart, who hardly had any lines and didn't really do much except, with a team of 3, infiltrate a base and try to set off a bomb, which is, again, very, very familiar. But even better than that, we've already seen him in some pretty cool mobile suits, from the ZSR to this one here, the Zedora, not to mention the Giraga or whatever it's going to be called, or whatever you want to call it. But more importantly here, Char style, he hopped into a Zugoku, and anyway, he was able to go and attack the base, and that mobile suit in red, they actually had it in 3 different variations, 3 different colors, and it's very similar to the Gomel, as I started to say before, and that means that hopefully, if it's a Zehart suit, we're going to be getting that in plastic model form. Whether we'd be getting it in variations and in 3 different colors remains to be seen, but nonetheless, that's certainly another red ace suit to add to everybody's collection. If you're a fan of those kind of things, stole the show for me right there. But for scene of the week, we had some good setup at the beginning with Flit talking to the captain about the meaning of doing things. The will she or is she not about the spy about Shana Lua. Anyway, as she headed off and Kyo headed to go get her, of course in the end, even though she was trying to shoot him and shoo him away, in the end, because this Phantom 3 Daemon wanted to cut his way through to the Gundam, it's always great to see bad guys just yelling how badly they don't want to be fighting the Zakkos, all they want to be doing is fighting the Gundam. And she jumped in and saved the day with that beam saber through his head, and you can assume the cockpit there. But in the end, yes, the two of them crying together as she reached for her picture is sort of a better version of Shin, I suppose some people will think. But anyway, only 2 episodes in, and at least it is probably the first time that I think we've really had any impact in this 3rd generation so far. And did I mention Zehart in an amphibious red mobile suit? Yeah, that's enough said. Overall, I'd say that this is certainly not one of the best or worst episodes, but just sort of a standard one. But we've certainly seen some deaths earlier on in the 2nd generation and the like that had a little bit more impact than Shana Lua is today. It's going to have a lot of impact though on Kyo, being the naive kid that he is though, being thrust into battle, even though he's got his grandfather there to hold his hand, or so it seems. In terms of the actual battle, I thought I didn't mention the Age 3 for MS of the week, but it had already debuted before. But I thought it looked really, really good in some scenes, but in other ones, as it was just sort of slowly motoring along, I thought that the animation could have been a little bit better. I'm a big fan of the attacking on the Earth base and the female traitor. Going back to Zeta Gundam, again, it could have been dragged out, but they did at least do a good job of introducing Shanalua. And they didn't just play it out over a single episode, which you can imagine an old show from the 80s might have done if they were just going to introduce a traitor to kill her off. But this way they at least dragged it out a little bit, and the 2 episodes is certainly better than 1. And I think that the more mobile suits they throw our way, not to mention mobile armors and things like that, the Danazine had a good turn. Good to see some old school ones like the Dorado and things like that. Not to mention that Genoa's O custom, which I'm looking forward to. We've already seen from the Shizuoka Hobby Show that they've only announced 2 new high grades, well I suppose done the Orbital too, to go along with the Dark Hound Pirate Gundam, not to mention the Jack Edge. But anyway, there could be a lot more, and there's so many that I'm waiting for, including the Clanch. But anyway, that's just me. What did you think of the episode? What did you think about the models? What do you think about their prospects of coming out? Would love to hear from you with a comment down below. And in the meantime, stay tuned for next Sunday, episode 33, and we get to see a full-on assault. And did I mention that Zayhart has a red amphibious mobile suit? Yeah, we'll see you next week to talk about that. Bye. You know, all episode I was waiting for the Danazine to shoot watermelon seeds at the Clanch or Age 3.